Hello, everyone. This is your host, Deborah Poneman. Welcome to our call with today's guest, Alicia Power. From a young age, Alicia's passion for connection with the divine led her to study under spiritual masters and eventually directly from the world of spirit. It's been this accelerated evolutionary soul training that brought her to an experience of union with God's source. And it's the same training that she's dedicated to passing on to those wanting deliberate awakening. A former journalist, Alicia is able to translate high esoteric knowledge into everyday digestible tools that anyone can use. After 3 decades of spiritual mastery training and teaching as a healer and awakener, Alicia has helped people ignite their soul into high joy, freedom, power, and purpose. She facilitates, along with extraordinary senior spirit mentors, the expansion and acceleration of your journey and soul purpose in this lifetime. And today you'll discover how to awaken more quickly into your higher power, how to increase the speed of your manifestation, how to access an advanced spirit tutor, and how your spirit tutor can upgrade your light frequency. She's also going to share a simple tool to clear your aura from density and why this lifetime could unfold beyond your expectations. Wow. Alicia, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the call.
Thank you, Deborah. I'm so looking forward to this conversation.
Well, I am too. I am already feeling some very powerful presence, and this is just such a gift to be able to interview you today. And in your bio, it says that you started your journey at a very young age. Could you take a few minutes and share with us what you believe to be the major turning points in your journey to soul awakening?
Oh, what a powerful question. It opens the door to, just traveling back to my early years and that feeling of knowing that God is present. You're going to laugh at this. It's such a beautiful, funny little picture I'm going to draw of myself as a little child in bed and thinking to myself, I wonder what God looks like. And then suddenly, in terror, jumping under the covers, because that moment of even asking myself that question almost opens the possibility of right there and then connecting with that rawness of what God's energy could be, and having really no idea what that could be. But there's this, I guess, how powerful questions can be when we even ask ourselves questions that even pushes us into the truth of, the answer for that moment. So, this little child going, no, it's too big, jumping under the covers. But that longing, the knowing of what God is working, in early childhood with a beautiful family, such a love-filled family, and parents coming out of the Second World War. They moved all the way to New Zealand from the intensity, of Europe in the early 1950s, and literally gave birth to a really big family. So I was in a lovely, big, playful, creative, happy family, and very deeply religious, praying every night together. And then at the end of my schooling, end of my secondary years at school, beginning to realize that I needed to just travel deep inside myself into God consciousness and stillness from the noise and the bustle and the busyness of external life. And coming out of those final secondary school years, moving straight into meditation. And you and I were talking just before we started this call, and I went into, for a year, I believe, from memory, into transcendental meditation. But just that hunger of pushing away the external world and wanting to dive into fathomless stillness inside of myself where God consciousness resides. And even a year before that, when I was still at that last year at school, having a very powerful experience of kind of unplugging from the religious setting that I'd been part of and having an explosive moment on the beach, literally like a week before we finished school, noticing that the frequency, the resonance, the energy of God energy was just pouring out of everything. It was pouring out of the ocean, out of the sky, out of the cliffs behind me. It was so present. It was so powerful. It was so in my face and present in everything around me. And it didn't need the context of a church or a religious framework. So that was a really defining moment for me, having that moment on the beach and realizing that. And I really did feel guided in that moment, knowing that something was unplugging me out of an old framework, out of an old system, and pushing me into the vastness and limitlessness of the fact that God consciousness is everywhere. It's within everything. And I was just remembering just then a little conversation I was having with my 88-year-old mum a few months ago about that God is everywhere and that we don't need to be in a church. And she's such a delight. Talks to her spirit saints every day in deep communion with them. You know, she's so amazing. So anyway, that moment of moving out of a framework and then feeling guided to just blow that box really open and then going into meditation states. And after a year of transcendental meditation, finding a spiritual master from India who helped me go directly into that interface with God consciousness. And OMG, you know, just quenching such a deep thirst in me, in those deep, still places inside of myself of total communion and, Deborah, just that state of bliss and harmony and utter peace and utter connection to God, energy, God's source inside of ourselves. So, gee, that was the answer to my prayers, you know, as an 18-year-old, just going there. And at 19, by 1920, I was initiated. I think a year of sitting in satsang, which for people listening to this is being present with live discourses about meditation states and about being in that God consciousness. So it took a year of preparation and then finally being initiated into my own deep source connection, and then moving into an ashram for 6 years where, again, focusing on that bliss state in meditation and in serving my community and in giving discourses, you know, from the age of 20, 21, many times throughout the week. And that continued for 16 years. I was in the ashram for 6 years, full, like a nun in a way, you know, just giving my life to God. And in that, again, I guess a framework of giving discourses and serving the community and being in deep meditation states as much as possible. But for 16 years, coming out of that ashram after 6 years, which was an interesting moment, Deborah, I just want to say that there was this call out that went out from that amazing spiritual master I was following after the 6 years, and he closed the ashrams in the West, saying that it didn't really suit the style of the West. And I remember sitting in a group of people listening to a spokesperson for that spiritual master, and the spiritual master was saying that it's time for all of us who had really committed our lives, for the rest of our lives, we thought we would be in this 100% focus and 100% commitment to God consciousness in the ashrams. It's a bit like a nun or a priest saying, oh, yes, this is for life. And then this spokesperson saying that this beautiful spiritual master had decided to close the ashrams, but wanted to say that that focus, that connection with God consciousness now needed to be taken with us out into normal lifestyle out there when we went to work, when we were amongst just everybody else living a normal life. And for me, that was an unfathomable truth. And I knew that that was such a profound truth and reality that I had to live my life in so-called, quote-unquote, normally, but hold that state of bliss, of God consciousness and God connection inside of myself. Doesn't matter what I did, where I was, who I was with. I loved that. And so that began that whole life of staying there, basically. And then after 16 years of working in that framework of following the spiritual master, I decided to unplug from that framework. And it was a beautiful moment. This was such a powerful moment for me, realizing Deborah, and I just want to say to you that this was a key moment for my soul, because I was feeling really strongly, this deep feeling was welling up inside of me, that my individual soul wanted to understand itself more. It wanted to have almost a conscious awareness of who my soul was, what talents and skills and levels of empowerment it had, what history and story it had as a soul. And this conscious awareness of this type of information I knew nobody on the outside could give me. And I instinctively and intuitively knew I had to open up to the multidimensional realms and find a spirit tutor to begin to give me that information and to walk me into the knowledge and knowing of that story of my soul. Who am I? Why am I driven to be in spiritual leadership? What past experiences have I had in spiritual leadership in other lifetimes? What wounds does my soul have, as apart from maybe emotional wounds from this lifetime, from childhood and in this incarnation? But what wounds does my soul have, and what is it bringing into this lifetime? And how can I heal those wounds? And how can I, really the driving feeling and thought really was, how can I become as empowered and powerful as a soul as I can be in this lifetime? How can I morph past the kind of restrictive frameworks of my logical mind and how it sees myself currently? That was that point. And so an instinctive feeling that there's more about me than I was currently feeling and thinking and perceiving about myself. And so that book, the beautiful book, winked at me from the bookshelf or fell out. I couldn't quite remember what actually happened there. But that book, read a little exercise in there, sat up in bed one night and went into a deep, quiet inner space inside of myself and focused and called on a beautiful spirit tutor of love and light to come to me, felt the energy arriving, invited it to give me its name and began to have a conversation with it, and it began to send me pictures and feelings and thoughts, and I began a dialogue and a relationship with this spirit tutor who became my primary dialoguing mentor for 2 years and showed me how to work with human auras. And he was a master aura technician, and very quickly I became a professional aura healer, where the spirit tutor would step into my body and would show me what they were doing. So he would push my arm out and it would make circular motions, but he would show me what was happening in the light body as my hand would do a certain shape and kind of density in the aura would get vacuumed up into the palm of my hand and then flowed through my own aura and pulled out by the spirit being. So I'd act as a vacuum cleaner or pushing light through my aura, through my hands into somebody's auric field, and using my hands as very specific surgical tools, sending light, laser beams into people's auras, but all of it second by second guided by these spirit technicians. And because I'd been a former journalist, I became so curious about this world of light energy and how someone's consciousness that sits in the aura literally can be cut and pasted and rewired by these spirit surgeons. And the density and fear that sits there as light waves in the auric field, patterns of thinking, the way someone just goes round and round in a loop, or a fear pattern, a thinking pattern based on a fear feeling, can be completely changed. The substrata of that thinking pattern can be changed because it's just a blob of energy that these spirit surgeons can go in and simply surgically remove it and then download new software in that little spot and reweave the aura in that area. And that person just simply doesn't feel the fear anymore. To me, I just began to realize that this was an extraordinary clue to expanding people's consciousness, to growing and maturing them into their higher selves, where over the years, and now it's been 22, 23, actually 23 years working in this way with spirit tutors and spirit technicians, where I realized that these spirit tutors literally would begin to graft the higher self auras of that person's higher self in terms of an aura, a higher aura aspect of them, grafting that down literally as technicians and melding it down into that person. So that person began to walk and talk as their higher self. And I'm talking to you, describing something that's technical almost in nature. Many people think they have to trudge and work and do spiritual practices, which of course elevate someone incredibly powerfully when they do spiritual practices. And I just want to introduce this word here right now, which is acceleration. OMG, it's like, oh my God. I discovered that potential, someone's soul potential and their soul expression, the potential of their soul expression in this lifetime certainly can be magnified through spiritual practice and deep states of meditation. There is this world, encyclopedic world of knowledge, of the technical knowledge of your auric field, your consciousness, your soul field of who you are, the substratas of who you are, the higher octaves of who you are. Your spirit technicians and your spirit tutors can see all of your soul mentors, all the department heads in the soul, in the spirit layers who oversee your development and can talk to them and can speed up your progress, can get permissions from using all the right protocols that they know instantaneously. They just work with those protocols immediately. But if you partner with a spirit tutor, and each of us has that capability, and I want to say that right now. And I had this amazing thought the other day. This is democratization of awakening, of morphing into your full potential. And I want to say right now for everyone listening, this dialoguing partnership with my spirit tutors has taken me and has morphed me miles past what I could ever have imagined way back then when I was beginning my awakening journey. It has developed such deep strength in my aura and who I am as a soul embodying my body in this lifetime. So it's strengthened me. It's filled me up with extreme high frequency light. It's taught me to hold very high light. It's taught me to partner with very high authority, advanced spirit beings in very, very high layers of light. So the journey is dialoguing daily with your spirit tutor, beginning a process of awakening and maturing, and inviting them to begin a process of clearing your consciousness field. So the field that surrounds your physical body and your physical personality in this lifetime with all of its memory from this lifetime and past incarnations as well, and higher and further out octaves of your soul bodies. And so your spirit tutors work in all of those layers. And also they closely partner with you and always seek your permission for your next step. So when you work with a spirit tutor, and we're going to do a process and connect you up today with a high authority spirit tutor, and the reason why I use the word high authority is that these high authority beings shortcut the process. They do accelerate the process. They have the authority to change your auric field very rapidly in a very accelerated way. So when you begin a process of dialoguing with a spirit tutor like this can take you forward into your full soul potential and the expression of your soul in this lifetime in its full potential very, very quickly. These spirit tutors will teach you to partner with them according to what's appropriate for you. They'll teach you to instruct them. They will also teach you to give them permission to go deep into your archives and begin to reweave the wounding. So at that core base level, you strengthen. And just very quickly, everyone, and I know many people listening to this will understand what I'm saying, and that is that we project subliminally the sum total of our auric field, of the resonance and the frequency of what we are, who we are, in the snapshot of who we are today, the sum total of all our wounding, the sum total of our fears and our unconscious, the sum total of our projections from our logical mind, the sum total of our sense, of our feeling, of our dreams and our vision, the sum total of our hopes, the sum total of who we are as we are today. We project that in this moment through a lens of what that sum total is. And so our external reality, according to how much fear subliminally is sitting in our consciousness, it shows up with positive realities sometimes falling over, sometimes not being quite as good as we want them to be. Or you may be really stressed because maybe financially, some of you listening, your external reality is feeling really intense, possibly, and uncomfortable. And what I'd love to kind of finish the description of what I'm saying here is that the stronger you become in terms of clearing the auric field of the subliminal fear, which is projected out through that lens, your external realities will begin to become stable and positive at a higher and higher level. So in a quantum reality, and I used to say a quantum soup, but I think I'm going to use the term quantum sea, as in like an ocean, quantum ocean. So in the quantum ocean that we live in as a soul walking forward in our quantum classroom, which reflects back instantaneously the resonance we're feeling, the subconscious feelings we're having at any moment. It's an incredibly technologically designed classroom. Our spirit tutor can speed up the process of positive realities taking place and keeping those stable on the outside. So it is about firming up the self-esteem, firming up the sense of self inside of ourselves. And not only that, your spirit tutor, as they rewire patiently that auric field, the depths of you as a soul, changing it from that base platform, they will begin to change and download new software. They just do, and they have with me for 23 years. They will download new software that changes the way you think about yourself. It really will change in an accelerated way your self-esteem and your self-belief. And when that changes, your choices are different. You travel in different directions. Your hopes and visions for yourself become a little bit different, a bit based on a stronger sense of safety inside of yourself and kind of can-do, a feeling of can-do and a feeling of ease and a sense of where you're heading. And that very easily can change when the spirit tutors just change the wiring in your consciousness. So even though you may have traveled down a path of really deep commitment and consciousness awakening from the core of your soul, from the core of yourself, and stayed really on task and on track with that longing from your soul. And I know everyone and many people listening will have a very beautiful practice of yoga and meditation and just clean living and upliftment. What I'd love to say to everyone listening, and just really humbly from my soul to you, everyone listening, that there is an opportunity right now for you to turn around inside of yourself and to connect with a spirit tutor and begin a dialogue that goes on from that point onwards. Begin the permission giving, begin the acceleration, because those guys can rewire you into exploding your perception of who you are. I've got a lot to say, Deborah. I've got so much to say. It's like, what does your spirit tutor actually do for you? Your spirit tutor heals your pain and your fear. They download new consciousness into your consciousness. They intercede with higher mentors, with even higher authority beings on your behalf, and take you higher so that you move faster. So they will introduce you to other spirit tutors who can work on you at slightly different angles with slightly different specialities. They challenge your perception of yourself. They take you further. They break the box of your frameworks and push you further down a path. They always notice and ask you what your preferences are. They teach you to connect inside of yourself with your core preferences constantly. And they teach you how to connect with your heart and notice what your heart is preferring constantly, so that you start, gosh, I love, heart math. It's such a fantastic feedback, software and mechanism. And the spirit tutors are a little bit similar, where they kind of guide you in processes. When you put your hand up and work with them consistently, these spirit tutors start to do a training with everybody, with anyone, to teach you how to put your hand on the steering wheel of your heart longing and your heart preferences, because that means that what shows up in your life is more accurate in terms of your heart preference, not your logic preference, but your heart preference. So your spirit tutors know that your quantum classroom, what can I say, as a driver in the car of your quantum classroom, the maximum potential of working with that quantum classroom is to be sitting in your heart as constantly as possible and observing what your heart's preferring. Because originally that quantum classroom was designed to show up your heart's desires. And so they teach you to do that around manifestation. And you can imagine, can't you, that there is such an important process for your auric field to be cleansed, to be healed, so that the unconscious, the subliminal fears are cleared and healed, so that you can even find your heart, so that you can travel more deeply into what your heart is and how it feels at a deeper and deeper and deeper level, noticing more and more deeply, gee, that's a process, noticing more and more deeply as the scales are pulled away, as the crust and concrete's pulled away from, that fear concrete, just noticing more and more deeply what the heart is preferring and maturing that process. And the other beautiful thing that your spirit tutors will do is track your awakeness to your potential. So they will push you and nudge you, gently nudge you and guide you into awakening more and more deeply, into noticing that this physical reality is not real, into noticing that you are a major, high, limitless spirit being walking in a fabric that surrounds you, that just shows up a reality from that quantum ocean instantaneously according to your sense of self and your self-love in that moment. So they track you, they observe you, they mentor you, they nudge you, they train you. What can I say? There are beings who can see the entirety of you and have unlimited compassion and huge longing to support. And the interface is all that's needed. The patience from our side as humans to spend that time communing and to open up what I call telepathic, conscious conversations. And everyone can do this. I'd like to say to everyone listening, you all can do this, because I had not conversed deliberately and dialogued deliberately with the spirit world until I did it, in that exercise, and realized that the spirit being that I'd met couldn't give me any information because I wasn't used to hearing them. And I realized they were giving me an ocean and a universe of information and knowledge in one word. And so every day I just sat for 5 minutes and opened up my willingness and my longing to connect with this being, and I could feel energetically them arriving, and just sat with them and felt this impulse and transmission coming from them of feeling and knowings way below the logic. And so I taught myself to unpack those flows of feeling coming towards me into my own logical, sequential thought process. And so those words that were coming, or that one word that would come from my spirit tutor in those initial moments, I realized that they were showing me huge, vast tracts of knowledge. If I was calm enough and patient enough and still enough and focused enough to even notice what they were delivering back to me. And then gradually, those one words and those very, very subtle senses of something visual coming to me, or a sense of something, of a feeling coming to me, began to formulate into one or two or three words. And then finally, over the weeks, and I'm saying this because you all can do this, over the weeks, patiently, I noticed that they were giving me solid sentences, whole sentences and phrases. And it was up to me to catch them. I had to catch that instantaneous transmission that was coming back instantly. As soon as I asked a question, it was coming back to me before I'd even finished asking the question. So it is a skill. It's a bit like someone picking up a violin for the first time and terrible screeching noises. And gradually the fingers and that instinctive feeling on the bow and the fretboard of a violin, until with a lot of practice and just letting the body and the finger memory and the body memory just take over, suddenly the body knows how to create a beautiful tone off that violin. And it's very much like that. It's the patience to push your attention onto that interface, stay with that interface until you're getting the knowledge flow coming to you. You're noticing it's real. You're noticing it's potent and rich, content rich, and taking it seriously. And if anyone listening, and I know so many of you listening, are hungry, are longing to explode your potential as a soul in this lifetime, I know that you'd love to be empowered. I know that you'd love to understand consciously how this quantum motion works. And not just consciously as a theory, but I know you'd love to be trained to work with manifestation. And I know you'd love to have a tutor that can see inside your soul, inside your consciousness, inside your whole memory archives, and can begin to pull you out of wherever you're at the moment into a much higher platform, a much more empowered platform. So I'm talking about you have a role, and there are spirit tutors who are standing right next to you right now who can see the entirety of you. They can see the job that needs to be done. And you know what? All that's needed is for you to show up regularly into that interface and turn your attention solidly 100% with huge soul longing in that moment, and spend that time with them, and they'll start to pull you forward.
Well, can I just tell you that you had us with hello? I mean, as soon as you started talking, because everything that you said is exactly what we all want. I mean, we want to become as powerful a soul as we can be. We want to be able to heal our own pain, heal our own fear. We want to be recognized, to be clear channels for love. And yet we are like somebody who just picked up a violin and doesn't even know how to hold it, let alone get squeaky noises out of it. So what I would love if you could do right now is, could you share with us a process that will at least begin to help us connect with our own spirit tutor?
Wow. Let's play, Deborah. Such a sacred moment for everyone. And in this process, we will be having a little bit of a mental visualization gymnastics. My spirit tutors love to take everyone through a kind of a warm-up, really just to pull them into the inner world and to just show them what is possible, and that your conscious visualization changes energy, everyone. So when you do use your imagination, quote unquote, it pushes energy around, it changes energy. And your spirit tutors, by the way, the more you spend that time and get trained by them and have that quiet time inside of yourself that you can pick up and perceive what they're saying to you, they will teach you how to work with energy. So all of us are the same. We all are a soul. We're all incarnate in this human body. We want to break out of the restriction and the limitation. We want to become all of what we can become in this lifetime. We just do. I know everyone does. So let's begin, everyone. So taking a really deep breath down into the tummy and letting that breath out really, really slowly, nice and calm and measured breath. And one more. And what I'd love everyone to imagine is a huge ball of light, which is actually a being of light. This is not necessarily your main spirit tutor we're meeting today, but it is a being. And what I'd love you to do just straight away, we're just going to get in the deep end real quick, is for everyone to just step right into that spirit being, right into that being of light. So you're merging with them. And that's a fun experience in itself. And that spirit being feels you immediately and merges with you, can see all of your wiring in your auric field, and compassionately download its higher frequency light into you. So that's a beautiful process you can do at any moment. If you're sitting in a bus, sitting at the traffic lights, just quietly at home, very simple process. Just imagine a being of light in front of you and just step into them. And then morph and merge right out and expand out into becoming them as big as their auric field is. So you're just merging with them. And now, everyone, out of the top of your head, I'd love you to imagine quite a wide column of light shooting straight up into the sky. And pretend you're being pulled up that column of light as though you're in an elevator and moving up really fast, higher and higher and higher, traveling up through many, pretend in your imagination, through many densities of light, kind of like the sun, your layers of light, moving up higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. We're just traveling really fast, continuing to travel up higher and higher. We're going to meet with a very high authority being of light. So we're traveling up to quite a high layer of light. So keep going up your beautiful light elevator. Keep pretending, keep switching on the knowing that you're traveling up higher and higher and higher. There's a reason we're doing this. So stay connected to the imagination process here. And we're coming to a stop now. And as this was an elevator, the doors are opening. And we're stepping out into just a vastness of light. That's all that's there. And we've actually kind of changed it to just being a being of light ourselves. So we don't even have a human body. How beautiful. And it's so lovely. I just want to say that we are feeling ourselves as just a being of light. Even that's so buoyant and freeing and joyful. How gorgeous. And again, I'm just being given this visualization from my tutors. It's so beautiful. In front of us, everyone, there are 3 beautiful beings of light again. Now, these are very high authority beings. You could say it's a council of very high authority beings. And this is an amazing moment because we are about to let these beings know, and we are about to feel inside of ourselves what we want for this lifetime. And it's not about being theoretical. It's not about coming from your head. This is the moment where you've got an opportunity to say something to beings that can literally puppeteer your realities. They do have that authority. So it is a moment of diving into your heart and noticing, kind of innocently, like a 2-year-old almost, kind of going, I wonder what my heart would love for my life. So have that moment and then send that knowing and that feeling directly to these 3 beings. Okay. And now, if you wouldn't mind turning around to the right as you're standing with these beautiful beings, just turning around. And there is a very tall being of light standing right there to your right. Now, this is your high authority spirit tutor. This has the potential to be your buddy, your life buddy for a period of time. What I'd love you to do, and just a fun little process, is pretend there's some sand at both your feet, and they've got a stick in their hand, and they're actually going to draw the letters of their name for you. So you can ask them to repeat a letter as they're drawing it in the sand for you. So it's really about just getting a kind of a sound code or a name that you can connect to your spirit tutor with when you use it in your mind later on, like the phone number. So you can ask them, what is your name? And now, everyone, you can spend some time going back if you're uncertain what that name was, and just come back here and just do this process again anytime. But what I'd love you to do now is, again, to step into this being. Isn't that an amazing process? Wow, just to step in. In the spirit world, they do this a lot when they love each other, when there's two beautiful auras and they just want to say hello, they merge just for a moment. So it's like saying hello, going, oh, aren't you beautiful? And then stepping back out again. But what has happened in that moment is that that beautiful being gave you a gift of love and downloaded some of that love, high-frequency light into your aura. So you've got this little package of love from them sitting in your aura right now. And when you look at that being, you kind of know them now. You can feel them. It's like a communion has opened up between you. I'd love you to put your forehead to their forehead just for a moment. This being of light is real. They know all of your soul history. They can see everyone in the spirit world that's connected to you in terms of higher mentors in the spirit world, in terms of teacher spirit beings, not so much humans that have passed over, but more high spirit teacher beings that are connected to your soul. They can see all of those. And yet this spirit tutor is a little bit unusual, a little bit different, because they come from a much higher layer of light than many and most spirit guides. After the first 2 years of my working with that beautiful spirit guide I first met, I was passed up to overseers that oversaw the whole universe. Might sound a little bit strange. I got used to it pretty quickly. And it's with those layers of the overseers, very, very high, and much even higher than that now, I've been working with for 22 years. So this connection is with a level of the spirit world, which is extremely high on authority. They have an agenda to help you as a soul, and as many souls as possible, to upgrade and grow up into your full power and your full potential. This being has that agenda. They're on your side. They want to speed up your love quotient and your light quotient. They want you to get to know yourself as quickly as possible. They can see all your wiring. Can you see how this could be just a technical job? So every time you connect and show up with this being, your role is to ask them to rewire you for a change of state. You might be in fear state, and you'd like to change that to an empowered state. So your role is to give them permission and instruct them to change your state. They can see everything about your current state. They can see all the wiring. And also, I will say very, very quickly here that as humans, we do pick up lower entities that do hitch a ride in our aura, that do start to control our fear and turn up the volume on our fear and kind of keep us caught in our fear. As a really advanced auric healer, I will tell you that that is absolutely the truth. Now, these high spirit mentors have such red tape cutting authority, they can so quickly transmute those entities. this is one of the major reasons why you're partnering with them, to get them to do the big jobs of changing the auric makeup, the wiring of what is sitting in your aura, so that you get strong, you get put on your feet with clarity, with power, and you can walk forward. And in the process, they'll hold your hand, and every single step forward with them, they will train your logic as to what's going on. So please, everyone, it is so important to have a two-way dialogue. So what I'd love you right now to do, really quickly, we'll do this really fast, is to turn to that beautiful spirit being that you've just met, use their name, and I'd love you to ask a question about your life. And as soon as you ask that question, I'd love you to go into full 100% focus on noticing feelings coming back to you. Don't worry about thoughts or words. Focus on a feeling flow and a knowing flow coming back to you straight away, and just notice what that spirit being sending back to you. We'll just go quiet for a moment. Okay, everyone, and again, you can travel back to this moment using the name of your spirit tutor. I highly encourage you also to use that initial visualization of a column of light, and perhaps just stepping into that being of light further down for a little while, just to kind of increase your frequency, and then shooting that column of light upwards and traveling up, and then meeting your spirit tutor in that way with that visualization. Really encourage that. Right now, I'd love you to turn to your spirit tutor, take their hand, total pretend mode. Use the word pretend. So that's cool, that's fine. And then pretend that you are both walking forward, and let the movie roll. Take your hands off the steering wheel, zero control of the movie, and pretend you don't know what's about to happen, and then notice what begins to happen in the movie. Just keep walking forward. And I have this feeling that your spirit tutor wants to show you something. So jump right in 100% and have some fun here. Okay. And now, everybody, this is going to be so beautiful. Just taking the hand of your spirit tutor and together flying into the sun, right into the center of this massive molten light ball, huge, giant, and you're in the center of it. And I'd love you to disappear, you and your spirit tutor both disappearing, dissolving into the light, gone completely. So there's an opportunity, everyone, to maximize your potential in this lifetime. And the processes we've just been doing are very real. And the reason they're real is that you are a spirit being having a very temporary experience as a human. And the truth is that you are spirit. You are an energy form with a mask on of being a human just for a little short period of time, walking, talking as a human, interacting, and trying to remember the full power of who you are as a vast being of light. Your every waking moment, with every breath, you're trying to remember. And that's the truth. So these processes with these spirit tutors are going to retrace the steps to your 100% full memory of yourself as that vast being of light. And you can stay beautifully, harmoniously living a life as a human in the knowing of yourself as an unlimited being of light. That's the journey. So the real sort of memory steps, the reconnecting of the consciousness of that is what your spirit tutor will take you through. And it takes dedication, it takes application, it takes showing up, it takes quiet focus in those moments. It takes refreshing the screen when one's mind starts to lose focus, because it happens with me even now. And I need to be patient with myself and bring my attention back to being with my spirit tutor and what my spirit tutor is wanting to say to me. So we're all in this. We're all in the human experience. But those moments with your spirit tutor are 100% priceless. Priceless. Beyond this short physical incarnation, these beings take you back into full love, full light. Not just hoping, but they actually do. Deborah, was there anything else you wanted to ask?
There's just one more question that we had told the listeners. I mean, there are no words. I just have to say thank you. No words. But because we're a little greedy here, we also would love this simple tool to clear our aura from density.
Let's do this. Just want to background very quickly is that in my journey, not everyone will have this journey with their spirit tutors, but in my journey over the 23 years, whatever, with my tutoring with my spirit tutors, they have instructed and trained me extensively with understanding and learning how to work with shadow energy. So not only learning how to hold extreme high frequency light, but also picking up the warrior shield. And you can imagine with spirit technicians how in-depth and how detailed we travel into the auric field forensically to see what is sitting in there and causing fear and causing pain and anguish. So I am a forensic consciousness technician and working with my spirit tutors and spirit technician buddies. So I want to say to everyone, your spirit tutor can introduce you to spirit beings who are technicians, who can work with you on your own aura to repattern your fear. So what I said just then is that at any moment can invite your spirit tutor to introduce you to other aspects of the spirit world that they choose that are appropriate for you to work with as spirit technicians, and for you to buddy up and partner up with them and work with them extensively as well. So that's a very important point of information for everyone to hear. Your spirit tutors really can bring to you specialists that you need, whether it's for information, whether it's for training, whether it's for rewiring your consciousness. That's incredibly important. So it's really the internet, the internet. The other thing I want to say is that I'd love everyone just for a moment, again, let's take a really deep breath, and I'd love you to imagine your spirit tutor standing in front of you, and then your spirit tutor bringing to their side a beautiful being of light. So can you see how I've invited your spirit tutor to be the emissary or the go-between, the intermediary? They're the one that's choosing the appropriate spirit being. It's really important in spirit worlds, everyone, to be really clear about what type of spirit being you're working with. Because we can't see very clearly into the spirit world can see us very clearly. You need to work very deliberately with a spirit being that you know and you trust. And then they go sideways and bring the right guides back in to work with you. So imagine right now your beautiful spirit tutor bringing next to it as it's standing a beautiful technician spirit being. And I'd love you to ask that spirit technician to reach, really simple everyone, to reach into your auric field and to find a mass of energy that's sitting somewhere in your body or in your aura that's creating maybe confusion in your mind, or a kind of maybe tightening in your chest or heart, or a bit of fear or sadness somewhere. Maybe anxiety somewhere. It could be at the back of your neck, it could be in your stomach, could be in your chest, could be in your forehead or right in the center of your head. I'd love you to switch on your pretend mode, again, like a little 2-year-old, and know what they're doing. Pretend you know where this beautiful spirit technician is reaching in and what it's doing and how it's pulling it out. It's one of the best ways of working with the spirit world is saying to yourself, I'm pretending I know, because it immediately shows up what's happening. Keep your attention just lightly on what you're pretending you know is happening. And what I'd love to say is your attention is 100% important to watch what they do, because the shift is vast compared to if you kind of just put it on auto with them. If you go, oh, can you just do it? But if you swing your attention on what they're doing, the shift's huge. It makes all the difference. It is that quantum motion thing where human attention on something changes it. So watch what they're doing. Treat it as real, 100%. If you've finished with that, ask them to go for another piece of a mass of energy somewhere. Now, they could be vacuuming it out, imagining like they're holding a vacuum cleaner. That's really effective, by the way, everyone. It's a great technique where they're kind of pulling energy out. And if you could put your attention on the stuff that they're pulling out and keep your attention on that stuff until it feels clear. This is really one of the most effective techniques for the lower layers, denser layers. And remembering that these technicians are super fast sometimes. They just go in. And by the way, the more often you show up in this partnership with them, they'll get faster and faster with your consciousness connected to theirs and them showing you what they're doing. The amazing thing, everyone listening to this, is that the more you watch what they do, the more you mature as a soul. Isn't that amazing? The more you watch what they do, the more you mature as a soul, the more you grow up with working with them. They'll show you more and more and more. Go into 2-year-old mode, go into pretend mode, whatever it takes, and let that, take your hand off the visualization movie screen. Pretend you're innocent and have no idea what's about to happen, and then just watch what they are starting to do. So, Deborah, as you're watching, I'd love you to say to me what you're noticing is happening, just any sense that you're getting.
Well, I have to tell you the truth. I'm one of those people who really dwells in just this third dimension reality. And I am so aware, keenly aware of the work that's being done right now to get rid of the density in parts of my physiology, that it's astounding that I'm so directly feeling it and experiencing it, because I usually don't. And it's just a testimony to the power of your work. And even feeling my body like moving in to cooperate with the amazing, intense work that's being done.
Wow. I love this work. I just want to say, Deborah, it's kind of hilarious. I am an Aries, and I do kind of tend to, in an Aries way, to cut through to the chase.
Yeah.
And so when working with these spirit technicians, I love their speed. I love their speed. I love their acceleration. I love their potency and power. And I love the realness and actualness of what they do. And it really suits my temperament as an Aries. And I guess that's why the word acceleration suits me too. And I must say, they just have pushed me, rewired me, repatterned me over those 22, 23 years. So I stand kind of on the other side of the river and want to say to everyone, come on across. Come on across. And all you need to do is just show up with these tutors every day. And they will build the bridge. Your consciousness will grow and mature in that tiny moment of interface with them and trust that the flows of knowings and feeling flow below the logic is true telepathy. That's where to swing your focus on, to catch, to be smart enough to catch that flow of that instantaneous knowing that's coming back. That is the key tool to grow that whole interface.
It's very precious because I know so many of my listeners have shared with me that they, like me, are feeling, oh, we wish that we had that ability to see beyond the third dimension, the dense creation where we live. And it's just so clear that what you share is a path for that. And we appreciate it greatly. We appreciate this experience. And we are wanting to hear how we can continue this. And, well, first of all, I'm curious what's possible for people who are listening. Can you take a few minutes and perhaps share with us some of the results or turnarounds that you've seen from people in their lives who have applied what you teach? I know you've talked about in general what we can expect and what you've seen, but do you have anything that you could share about specific individuals and how their lives have shifted because of this work?
There is someone who comes to mind who is just such a beautiful, hungry soul and already a therapist, had a very difficult childhood, already a spiritual healer. And when this person connected with me, felt the acceleration so quickly and was introduced to highly accelerated and high authority spirit beings, and was also introduced to working with shadow energy in a context and a framework which is empowered, a really empowered framework, because these overseer advanced spirit tutors see shadow energy as just something to be worked with and very quickly transmuted. From their level of authority, they just transmute shadow beings and shadow energy inside of ourselves quite quickly. There's an accelerated transmutation there. So this person immediately picked up the tool of working with these spirit tutors, that this person could go into his own aura with these spirit tutors and have an inventory of his own shadow energy, his own traumas from childhood, the difficulties and the addictive patterns he had, and even to be able to see the truth of what shadow energy is when working with these spirit tutors. So because as a therapist, he was working with people coming to him with issues and problems. So immediately he realized the acceleration and the leverage and the height with which these spirit tutors were coming, the authority they were coming from, and the speed with which they would change his own consciousness. And so his leadership potential grew exponentially over the years. His platform of strength and kind of stability, where those occlusions, like an occlusion in a crystal, those occlusions were healed. You could say kind of gateways to shadow energy were closed in his auric field. He was really particular. He just quietly went at it, just thoroughly dove into working with his spirit tutors to clean himself up. But also, you can imagine when clients were coming to him, his spirit tutors could cut to the chase and see the truth of what was happening with them. He had many modalities that he was working with, but the overarching sort of field where he was coming from, in a sense, the level of intelligence and spiritual intelligence was huge and very high and very elevated, because in his aura were his own spirit tutors that he could immediately turn quietly to inside of himself. And the facilitation was profound, obviously, with all of his clients. But also he noticed that many spiritual healers that he had been associated with previously did not understand that wider framework of shadow energy. And he saw that many of them were naive and didn't realize the depth of shadow energy that might have been maybe in their own soul histories, didn't have the capacity to go into those soul histories and deal sometimes with the depth of that shadow energy from soul history. So what I'm saying is that this person grew and matured and empowered and worked with some of those spiritual healers, worked with himself, has now become so empowered and is just shooting forward as a leader, a consciousness leader, moving on to a business on the internet, on a global scale, a global audience. it's amazing. And right there is an example of somebody who just, you can hear that and see that, just moving from platform to platform to platform inside of himself, just increasing that self-belief as his consciousness changed. So, fantastic.
I can't imagine partnering with anybody partner than our spirit tutors. When you said that person, their international presence, and I was thinking, wow, well, he has a really good partner now.
Yeah.
Right? Well, okay.
Guiding step by step.
Yeah. So I really am very excited for everybody to continue this work and really accelerate it. And I know that you've created a special offer for everyone who's listening to this call. And I highly encourage everyone to go to see Alicia's special offer right now and experience it for yourself. I know I'm going to. Simply click on the special offer button that's on the page where you linked to this call. So, Alicia, can you let everyone know a little bit about your special offer and what they'll find on the special offer page?
I'd love to. Thank you so much, Deborah. First thing I want to say is that every lecture I give, every process I give, as a spirit communicator and just having spent all that time with my spirit tutors, I'm so close in that interface with them that all of the content, all of the lectures, all of the processes are word for word from them. So I just let them speak through me. And it sounds like me, but really they are delivering, follow the dotted line. They are just delivering every thought for me to say during these lectures. So it's so them. They take you into processes. And not only that, they are with you in those processes. So when you open up an audio and start moving with me through a lecture, the spirit tutors come to you in the spirit realms and are with you as you're listening. And as we move into a process, they will be with you inside your consciousness, helping you notice the process, helping you notice the ahas, taking you deeper into feeling your truths. So it's pretty magical, this whole thing that I'm about to describe. So there's one online course called Life Keys for Your Spirit, where my spirit tutors gave these lectures on the state of love, on the state of joy, on the state of freedom, on the state of clarity. And each one of these states has 3 separate lectures and processes, each one going slightly deeper and then deeper again, and training us to use very simple tools to switch these states on inside of ourselves. So they're magical lectures, magical processes, and real tools that any of us can use, very, very simple, but given to us from spirit beings who can see how we are designed and are teaching us how to use our design a little bit more intelligently. So spirit tutored trainings on love, joy, clarity, freedom, 1 a month, and it's called Life Keys for Your Spirit, spirit-sourced education, just absolutely amazing, a comprehensive inner shift program. I just think it's fabulous. And designed for you to be able to hold your state steady for manifestation. So beautiful trainings there. And then we move into actually 3 amazing audios. The first one, wow, everyone, is an hour and a half training on how to commune with your spirit tutor. So a lecture and then an amazing hour of taking you into that space with a spirit tutor, again, an advanced high authority spirit tutor, and helping you, walking you forward with your spirit tutor and teaching you ways to spend time with them and how to work with them, how to expand that training potential with them. So it's called Hear Them Better. It's a beautiful audio, a beautiful training of deep communion with your spirit tutor. We just had 10 minutes today. Okay, and then 2 beautiful audios called the Soul Pack. You can imagine, everyone, where I've been working with spirit tutors, diving into the soul fields, the auric fields of so many clients over these 23 years. And this lecture, the first one, is called Secrets of Each Soul's Journey, because the soul has traveled, not even through human incarnations, but even before human incarnations. It's had dynamics it's gone through. And this lecture is profound and talks about the soul, the journey of the soul, what it's gone through. You will love it. It's everyone's journey. And it talks about the variations of the types of soul journeys. You will learn so much about your own soul. It's amazing. And many secrets that I don't think very many people will have heard before. Again, totally delivered from my spirit tutors. And then the second part of that package is an amazing, quite advanced audio on how to steer your reality from your heart. Advanced soul acceleration. It is an activation as you're listening to it, talking about soul maturity, and it will talk you into noticing how to engage in your soul leadership. Very, very powerful. And talking about how to live in that quantum reality. Very, very powerful audio. And then I have slipped on to the end of that whole package. Again, one of my favorite trainings is a training which I call Soul Workout, everyone. This training is every week a really fast, short 5-minute video with me and with, of course, the spirit teams talking through me, taking you into a process once a week on talking to your own soul, connecting to your own soul, communing with your own soul, asking your soul questions, and finding out what your soul's needs are. Just very quickly, I don't think many people realize that the soul has a very different feeling and intelligence and needs to what you feel you have. Your soul is on a different plane and it's got a real agenda and real needs. And what you think are your needs might be very different to what your soul is feeling its needs are. Really important to ask your soul what its needs are. Because if you're having blocks in your life or projects aren't working as smoothly as they could, your soul might be trying to, tap you on the shoulder to say, look, I want to be going in a different direction. And so if you have these lucid, clear conversations with your soul, you get on track and aligned with your soul. And where that takes you is soul fulfillment and soul satisfaction. So the Soul Workout program, it's a 6-month, once a week little 5-minute video where you jump in for 5 minutes and soul program your week. So you chat to your soul, get to know your soul. It is brilliant. I just love it. You and your soul, connecting, communicating. It's just fabulous. So that's the package. It's just beautiful. It's just such a full, powerful package of training.
It definitely is. I mean, the last thing, the bonus, just that 5 minutes of soul programming for your week is worth the price of admission as far as I'm concerned. Every single part of this is phenomenal, what you're offering us. And I'm also really looking forward to the Hear Them Better, Meet Your Soul, Your Spirit Tutor training for 1.5 hours because it was so powerful in like 10 minutes. I can't even imagine how powerful it's going to be to have the full teaching. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. This is just absolutely phenomenal. Just click on the special offer button that's on the page where you tuned into this call. Wow. Okay, one more question. What have you seen from your experience are the biggest benefits that people tend to experience right away from after they start making use of what's in your teaching and in your package? And then what are the benefits that you see people experience in the long run over time?
Deborah, I want to use this word hope. Because I've worked with the spirit world, I sit in a place inside of myself where I have tutors to answer my questions, to change my state with me, to pull me out of tough corners, to guide me around brick walls, to elevate my point of view so I'm not stuck, so I'm not fearful, so I'm not anxious. OMG, oh my God. So hope, where we landed here as a spirit being incarnate in a human body without a manual, so to speak, of a how-to manual. And we are spirit beings. There will be a moment when we pass back over into the spirit world. So every day we wake up, get out of bed, And we rummage around our life and we do the beautiful things in our lives, or we do the habitual things in our life, or what we have to do to earn an income. And all the time underneath, we're hoping for a connection to our vast self, to our real self that knows the truth beyond this limited physical dimension. We're hoping to remember our vast self. We're hoping for that full empowerment of knowing ourselves as that vast consciousness that we are. That hope is there. And so everything that you guys will be doing in the content, the packages that I've got here for you, you will actually be interfacing with the spirit world that I kind of work with, in a sense, the heritage or the lineages that I work with, which are very high authority beings. I just want to remind you that really early on in my chats to the spirit world, they passed me up to very, very high overseer beings. And so when you connect into a process with me, they are the type of beings that are working with you, high authority, very accelerated. And so there's the time that you spend in these processes, you'll start to gain hope that amazing spirit tutors will begin to walk you forward into an empowered version of your life, into a hope-filled version of your life, into something like power is the only word I can find, really, where you're sitting in love, where you're sitting in isness, where you're sitting in God consciousness, where you can see the truth of every resonance around you, where you can see the truth of someone else, where you can see the truth of yourself. At any moment where you flick into a little doubt or a little anxiety, you know what that is. You know it's a little shadow energy, a little entity, and you know that in a moment your spirit tutor can reach in and pull that out, and you're back into your center again. So it's very applicable, practical tools that you're working with. And in this package, you'll begin to put your hand in the hand of these spirit tutors. They will begin to connect with you. You'll get used to working with them. Many of the processes in these packages introduce you to their spirit teams and to beautiful spirit beings that can start working with you. So you can build up a network of amazing spirit beings to call on. They are really very much like a room full of friends. And different ones have different specialities. And it's all based on love. It's based on empowerment. And that's why I want to use this word hope. You, as a beautiful soul, all of you listening, there is hope. This physical reality is wonderful and gorgeous, a great classroom, and yet you're just passing through temporarily. And there is hope to reclaim the fullness of who you are in this physical incarnation by putting your hand in the hand of these spirit tutors. They do it for you, by the way, and all you need to do is ask consistently. Every time you ask, you switch on the connection between you and the spirit tutor. Repetitive asking is a really good idea because in the quantum ocean, it actually switches on the connection every time you ask, every time you instruct, every time you give permission and let them know specifically what you want. It opens the highway every time you do it. So a kind of a blanket instruction like, hey guys, can you just do this for the rest of my life? That doesn't work. In a quantum field, intention is the kingpin, is everything. So when you switch on an intention to connect with a spirit being, it's active. You know, it's like your internet goes on. We switch on the internet. Every time you switch on your intention with a prayer, with an instruction, and invite your spirit tutor to be there with you. So the more often you do it, by the way, the stronger that highway of intention gets built. So it's a very active partnership on your part. It's not about lying back in the armchair and letting them do all the work. They do all the work, but you need to be present, active, intention-wise with them, actively asking them, actively guiding them, and instructing them. Isn't that fantastic? I love that. It's a two-way street.
Yes, and I love that too. And I think that, you know, there are programs where they say you don't even have to know that it's happening. Personally, I love to be in co-creation, and this is just sublime. One more time, because this is just so precious. What an opportunity you've given us. Alicia, click on the link that's on the page if you connected on the internet. Well, I don't know how to thank you enough because you have given us so much. Your generous offer, the process that you took us through, this has really been beyond extraordinary. Any final words you want to say before we say goodbye?
I'd just like to say, Deborah, that I particularly want to thank you because you're an example of someone who has done so much spiritual practice in your life, and you have so much hope and so much longing and so much willingness to expand and to awaken. And I know everyone on this call, you are on this call for that purpose, for that reason. There is hope. Your spirit tutor is a millimeter, a hair's breadth right next to your cheek. They are right there standing with you. And you have an opportunity immediately to be with them, to spend time with them. They are so real. And they will guide your consciousness impeccably, step by step, for everyone, all of you. So it is a hands-on, practical process from their point of view. They will begin to make the shifts with you and for you. Your job is to ask for it, everyone. And so, wow, there is a connection there, and you are, all of you listening, you're a vast soul in this physical incarnation. I keep repeating that. It is the truth. You're a vast soul. It's time for you to become that fully in this lifetime and to enjoy this life to its maximum.
Well, we feel so full, and we are looking forward to more of it. And with your beautiful program that you put together for us, we know we're going to have that. So thank you again so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you so much.
And thank you to all of you for spending this time with me and with Alicia Power. And I look forward to when we are all together again. This is Deborah Poneman. Have an extraordinary rest of your day. Bye for now.